Welcome back to Voice Global. I'm your host, Pete Erickson, and our next conversation is one I've really been looking forward to. When we spoke with our next guest last year, she gave us some information about just the breadth of not only the platform that she is leading, but just the scope of the intense and the engagement with that platform. And with the pandemic, it has changed all of our lives, and we've been home. So this has impacted it even more, probably from a youth standpoint. I look forward to having these conversations and talking about the habits of how we use and engage the entertainment and media in our homes. And the perfect person to talk to about this is my next guest, Jeanine Heck. She is the Vice President of AI Product at Comcast. Jeanine, good morning. It is so nice to see you.
Good morning, Pete. It's so nice to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Certainly. I think, for one thing, it's certainly nice to chat again a year later. I think last time everybody was in such lockdown, and it was we were all still sort of like just trying to deal with the realities of the situation. And I think that it's just nice to be able to, talk a year later, be vaccinated and feel like we're starting to get to somewhat back to normal. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I have that same feeling. Just, wow, what an amazing year it's been, and how grateful I am that vaccines are here.
Yes.
And the world is starting to open up again, especially as, it's summertime and you get to kind of enjoy sunshine and be with people more this year. It's really nice.
Amen. I think over the last month, we've started to get out there and enjoy our family dinners and friends and graduation parties and everything else. So certainly so nice to see you under very different circumstances this year than last year. When we spoke last year, I think I was just blown away by some of the numbers that you shared with regards to the number of intents that come through the Comcast X1 remote. I'm probably getting ahead of myself a little bit. I think before we go there, let's talk a little bit about you and your role at Comcast. We have a global audience here. Some folks may not be aware of, who Comcast even is. So let's start there. Tell us about Comcast and then tell us about your role.
Sure. So I work for Comcast, and we are a media and technology company. Kind of sit at the intersection of media and technology. So we have some great media properties, NBC, Sky, and we also have what you would traditionally call cable technology. And so we power internet and cable TV. We all have home security and a host of other products that we offer in the home. And really, I sit at that intersection because we are trying to get video to your home over your internet or over your cable, and really in a really great experience. So my team is called Entertainment Services and AI Product. And so the entertainment services piece is really all about the metadata, or the data that it takes to display and help you navigate and discover content. So I work with that team, and then also the APIs and the services that power any sort of AI experience that you get in any of our residential products is on my team as well.
Wow, that is a massive scope, and it's you casually mentioned some of the properties that Comcast owns, NBC and Sky. This is a huge company with massive reach when it comes to media and entertainment. And you've got this product, you've got the kind of the Comcast AI product. I should also mention, full disclosure, I'm a Comcast customer. I'm an Xfinity customer as well. Will you tell us quickly the relationship between those two brands, Comcast and Xfinity?
Yeah, well, Comcast is our company name, and it's really that corporation that I just talked about, that media and technology company. And Xfinity is our customer-facing brand. So in the US, when you sign up for internet or TV services with us, you get the Xfinity branded products.
Right. And I wanted to make that distinction because I will say, like with the Xfinity remote. So when I say that, I want people to understand what we're talking about is a remote control that, controls our television, certainly, but it has a voice interface on it. And as a family, we find ourselves using that more now than we do the buttons on the remote. And that's powered by a product, Jeanine, that you run, this AI product that's underneath the covers at Comcast. Tell us a little bit about that product first off, and then I'd love to hear some of the data from the last year. Last year you shared data with regards to the number of intents the previous year that I think kind of blew me away. But tell us a little bit about the AI platform that you have built that's behind the scenes.
Yes. So the voice remote for Comcast, we launched it in 2015. And really our goal is to be the ultimate shortcut to what you want to watch. So you can tap the microphone and say what you want to watch and it will appear. That is our promise. And I think we come through on that promise. So I think that is why so many people do love the product. They can just say it and see it right on the TV. So if you want to change channels, you can say ABC and it will tune you to ABC. If you want to launch an app like Netflix or Peacock, you just say the name of the app and you launch it. You can even say things like, continue watching Outlander, and it'll jump you right into your resume point and start playing you in that content where you left off.
Jeanine, how many different ways are people asking to change the channel?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, we actually have done some analysis on that, and people ask for just the channel CNN 24,000 different ways. It's kind of unbelievable because really the most basic one, CNN, works perfectly fine. But if you say, please play CNN or watch CNN and even CNN Yo, it will work and it'll tune you, and people do say those things.
I know. I think 24,000, just that number just kind of like blew me away, but it really highlights the complexity underneath the covers with regards to conversational interfaces and voice interfaces. Is just the sheer volume. Is you could never build a tree big enough to, and then fast enough to do that. So the technology behind the scenes is meeting huge challenges. Let's talk kind of at a broad level, like the number of intents that you take in as an organization. I think, and I don't know the statistics, but, my feeling is that, the Xfinity and the Comcast AI platform is probably one of the larger ones that people don't think about from an AI assistant standpoint. We think about the devices that are on our kitchen counter or in our living room. We don't think about the TV remote, but just the sheer volume, I think, was something that stuck out to me. Is that something you're still tracking?
Yes, and it does keep getting bigger. Last year in 2020, we had 14 billion voice commands. 14. And yes, I do kind of even pinch myself as I say it, because I've worked on voice from the time it was just like a little science project at the company. So it's pretty amazing. We have tens of millions of remotes and we're worldwide now. So we power the voice remotes on Sky Q. So the TV experience at Sky, as well as Comcast and all of our partners. So we have a pretty big reach at this point, and people are just using it more and more.
14 billion intents through the Comcast AI platform in 2020. That is it is mind blowing in terms of size. How important a role is machine learning playing for you when you've got that that volume in terms of like making the system smarter and evolving the platform?
It's playing a huge role, and really has been since the time of launch. When I started working on NLP, natural language processing, in 2012, we weren't using machine learning. But by the time we got to about 2014, we started using machine learning, and we just saw this huge step function in accuracy improvement. It's like I said, 24,000 ways to say CNN. Only a machine can possibly program all 24,000 ways. And then, that's just one channel. So it has to scale to all of the intents and all of what we call entities. So all the channel names are the titles. And so machine learning is really the best way. And I think we're seeing the power of deep learning, where, you can build out a nice data set and train and test your models using deep learning and really be able to keep improving your accuracy. I think we're at levels that we didn't think were possible until we learned about deep learning and really saw the power of that coming through.
Oh, that's fantastic. So let me ask you a little bit about the organization. I know we've all been pretty much remote and home for the last year or 15 months, but Comcast is based in the Philly area. Is that correct? Is that where your technologists are based? Do you have technology centers around the world?
Yeah, so our company is headquartered in Philadelphia, but yeah, we have technologists in just about every corner, really worldwide. We have technologists in Europe and in India, and in the US. We are, yes, based in Philadelphia, but our natural language processing team is actually in Washington, D.C., and we have folks on the West Coast as well, in Denver and Chicago doing AI work for us. So we actually have a pretty distributed team, and continue to grow in that way.
Are there positions? We've got a lot of technologists that are watching this show. Are you hiring? Are you growing this team?
Yes, we are. Please send me your resume if you're interested. We are growing in, I manage product managers, and so I'd love to hear from anyone who wants to work on our product team, but we also, partner with all of our AI engineers. So anybody who's got some AI experience, it would be really great to hear from you. So absolutely, please find me on LinkedIn and
I am so glad. I'm so glad that we could get that in for you, and it's a service to our industry as well. We've got so many people that are coming into the voice space, and maybe they're making a career transition in their technology journey, and see voice in this engagement area as a new opportunity. So thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about access. We talked about this remote, but there are a lot of devices now in our homes. Certainly there's Amazon and Google, but the markets, there's other devices, and there's more and more devices hitting the market all the time. How much are you considering engagement with Comcast and Xfinity through other channels and other devices?
Well, we're always exploring it. We are always open to the possibility, and we're always kind of open to where we can go with it. But we actually have a lot of engagement directly with our own channels. So, we've talked a bit about the voice remote, but we have this great product called Xfinity Assistant, and it's actually powered by the same natural language processing or voice platform that powers our voice remote. And last year during COVID, we saw the traffic grow by 445% for Xfinity Assistant. So we are really leaning into that as a channel. That is our own Xfinity channel, but it is great. One way that we can, automate that experience, give people access, and we continue to grow the number of intents that we support there and continue to expand on the accuracy. You mentioned deep learning, and deep learning is even more important in the customer care or support space than it is even on TV, because you start to get into just a much more volatile set of commands. You really can never predict what the top commands are going to be in a customer support channel, and really kind of the different ways people say things just are on a different magnitude. We're talking hundreds of thousands of ways to ask about bills, or to ask about your internet repair or your internet speeds. So it is really a whole different ballgame in complexity. But again, deep learning helps us tackle that. So
in our last, in one of the conversations we had recently with Cathay Pacific Airlines, I mean, the biggest area they're looking at really is customer service and customer interaction, and offloading some of the most trying cases to be solved through deep learning and machine learning.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, the tricky part is that you're getting into multi-turn, and so whenever there's that second, third turn in the conversation, you're just turning up the complexity in a totally different way. And you mentioned earlier, you can never really build that tree. You can't really map out every conversation you're going to have. So deep learning becomes even more important. And I think that we still have a long way to go as an industry, and really as researchers. I think I'd love to see more papers out there on how to truly do multi-turn conversation with, you have to keep that context, and you also have to be able to realize when context shifts and adjust accordingly.
Right. Yeah.
It's really hard to do.
Absolutely. No, I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's the thing about our space in general. When I say our space, the conversational AI interface space, whether it's through voice or chat, I think the thing about voice is it's intended to be a very simple interface. And it's almost like the more simple that interface has to be, the more challenging it is under covers, right? An analogy would be robots. They're wonderful, but they have a very hard time doing simple things like opening the door, right? Opening the door is really, really hard, but it's one of the easiest things we do as a human. And I would say the voice interface kind of is similar. Tracking with me on that one?
Yes, absolutely. It's kind of, you do see it as a human. Sometimes you're surprised that AI engines can't keep up, because it's something that we do so intuitively and so easily. But yeah, I mean, I do think the technology is really promising, and I think we're going to keep growing. And it makes it fun, because it's kind of like your work is never done, so you always have more you can do, and you can always get better.
So from and thank you for talking about the assistant, the Comcast assistant. Is it part of the vision that this physical remote dematerialization would kind of maybe disappear, and it's just something that's sitting on the coffee table, and we just tell it what we want?
It's possible. I mean, we're always exploring new ways to interface with customers. And so we are definitely looking into hands-free, and we're kind of seeing where that could take us. We do love our remote, and our customers really love our remote. So we do continue to put out more remotes and better remotes. And, of course, it handles any privacy concerns because it's push to talk. But yeah, I think that we'll continue to explore and see where we can go with hands-free. But we're pretty happy with what we can do on the remote. And, I thought you were going to kind of ask me about whether we do Xfinity Assistant and customer care on the remote, which we do. And I think that that's a really great area for us to keep expanding on, because the thing about voice is when you have a screen, the multimodal experience is so great on the remote. So, we always have that TV. It's your big, beautiful, you probably have a big screen TV, and you can do a lot with that visual as well. So we do really like that, and we like to take advantage of the multimodal aspect.
I wasn't advocating you get rid of the remote. I foresee this future where it's a more ambient world, so that we have a lot of dematerialization around us, right? And but devices, I think, are a huge part of our lives, right? And people, it's hard to imagine a day without a physical phone, right? Something that we can interface with and touch. Certainly get that. The current device, though, your smart assistant, is this something that we can access and get through, our Comcast Xfinity store?
Yeah. So the best way to get to the Xfinity Assistant is to download the Xfinity app. So if you go to the app store, it's called Xfinity. It's basically your way to manage your account, to manage your internet. And right there, it'll kind of ask you, do you need support? And you can tap on a little chat button and start chatting.
Right. Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you for making that clarification. Jeanine, where do you think the big opportunity is for the industry as we've evolved? And if I think you're a bit unique. You've had such a front row seat of this industry for the last 10 years. And a lot of folks became really familiar with the voice and conversational space with the arrival of the in-home assistants, right? With Amazon and Google Assistant in North America, certainly. But where do you think the big opportunity is for this industry over the next few years? Where do you see the biggest growth?
Well, I kind of feel like It really is in that customer support arena. I think that we are all still waiting for, someone to do it amazingly well and kind of blow our minds. And so I think it does kind of go back to that multi-turn conversation. You're calling or you're engaging with the Xfinity assistant and saying, I have a question about my bill. And really that conversation can go in so many different directions. You could end up, you know, having a new bill by the end of the
Right.
conversation. You could have some new services. You could
Sure.
potentially, be educated about the product. And so I think that we just really appreciate how flexible a human is in their conversation. And I think that we have to figure out as an industry how to be flexible about voice conversations with bots.
Right. I think that, well, that's,
Yeah.
I think that's great insights. I think certainly the customer care has been front and center. Opportunity has been front and center in our conversations here. And I would say that it does appear that, Comcast is really leading the way when it comes to this. And the number of things you can do through that remote is amazing. I mean, access your account, maybe order HBO Max, or do any number of different things with the voice. So really exciting times. We talked about the available jobs, but I always love to hear perspective on advice you might give. I think I asked you this last year as well. Advice you might give somebody who's looking at this space and trying to figure out, if they should break in or how they should break in. But any advice for somebody that's, maybe getting started in their career, in terms of how they might view the conversational AI space?
Yeah, well, number one, again, send me your resume. But yeah, I think that I think the way to break in is really to start thinking about the space. Use Siri, use Alexa, and start. My Alexa just went off. Start to play around with these products and analyze them. Maybe pull up a spreadsheet and list out all the commands you can possibly think of and what it did, what you thought it should have done, and maybe create a score for how accurate it was for you. But really dive deep into analyzing a product that's already out there. Understand how well it works. Have a point of view. Have a point of view on if you were the product lead for that feature or that app, what would you build next? If you were, I would love it if you came to an interview with me and you told me, yeah, the voice remote's great, but it should do this. And you had some data or some experience, or, you could kind of talk about products in terms of their competitive landscape. Well, it doesn't do the same things as, this product over here. So I think that it's about diving into some analysis and, having a point of view on product, but also with some data to back it up.
I think that is fabulous advice. I mean, anybody's got the ability to go and do that kind of research on their own and come up with their own opinions. And I think that is fantastic advice. Reminds me of, I used to be in the retail space and work closely with Target, and our buyers at Target would say, if you're a new vendor and you're coming to see me, I really require that you have been to our stores, looked at how we merchandise, and then come to us with advice. And it reminds me of that. And that was that was a filter. If somebody came in to sell them something and had never really done that, they didn't make it in. Great advice. I really appreciate that. I think that's exciting because we can all be our own analyst and research firm.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we do that even when we're onboarding. So if we have a new member of the team, we ask them to do 50 commands every day and kind of log how it went and be able to come back with a point of view on how it goes. And, a weekend, you get an amazing perspective from someone with fresh eyes, because that's always helpful.
Amen.
And it's always amazing to see the perspective people bring.
Well, I'll tell you what, as a customer, one thing that's come out of this is I'm going to definitely start exploring more about what my remote can do. Definitely, we're very, very adept at pulling up the programs that we want and the applications, but I think that
Awesome.
very cool to know we can even do more from a customer service standpoint. So we'll definitely be checking that out, and I'll provide any feedback or advice that I'm going to have for you. Jeanine,
Anybody?
Yes, absolutely. I think empowerment is really what you're talking about. I think that anybody can be empowered to get into this space. It's an exciting area, and it goes really deep. I think that's the thing about this space is, it's like an iceberg. Just the tip is what most people can see and talk about, but underneath it's massive.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah, there's so much more to do and so much complexity, and it's really a fun space. So I would love to keep seeing the industry grow.
Well, we love to see your progress, Jeanine, and always enjoy your perspective and enjoy chatting with you, and commend you on building out a really remarkable platform just in terms of scope and size. And we hope that you'll join us at our Voice Summit conference this fall. There will be a little hint, folks. There is going to be a live event, and we're not far away in DC. And I was so happy to hear that your NLP and NLU teams are here as well. So definitely want to get Comcast involved.
We will be there. Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you so much. Great to talk with you. My guest has been Jeanine Heck, the Vice President of Product at Comcast. I'm Pete Erickson, your host at Voice Global. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next chat.